So first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I absolutely love the show. So you couldn't stop me from taking the time out of my day.
Thanks.
So my first question for you is, what got you into acting?
It was kind of a coincidence. I used to do gymnastics. I was training, sort of envisioned for the Olympics. I was training for the Canadian national team back in Montreal, and I just needed money to be able to compete kind of around the world. And my brother wanted to become an actor. So when he joined an agency, I was about 8. And I was just like, oh, this is a great way to make a little bit of money if I do like commercials and such and travel for gymnastics. So I kind of right off the bat landed Monsieur Lazare, which was indie film that went to the Oscars. And that kind of put me on the map for more of the American industry. And then I booked The Book Thief, and then I made the decision to quit gymnastics. And it kind of just really happened naturally, and I was really lucky. And I don't think I ever took it seriously until I made applications for college, and I was kind of looking at what field I wanted to study in. And I was just like, I don't know, like acting just fits everything. I mean, probably because I've been doing it since I'm like 8, but it just kind of made sense to me to just continue acting and to take it on as a more serious, like lifelong job and journey. And I've been doing it ever since.
Well, your fans thank you for that. So I'm sure you would have plenty of gymnastics fans, but your work on Yellowjackets is tremendous.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I don't think I would ever. I don't regret anything. The path I've taken is way better than gymnastics, I think.
Well, it's exciting to watch you go through different series and then movies, and now this. It's great to see that progression for somebody who loves what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting also to have a fan base. I think I've done a lot of. I mean, there was one with The Book Thief because it came from a book that was quite popular, and I think that really had an international reach. And ever since The Book Thief, I've had like followers from, every country in the world. But it's been really interesting to now I've done more. I come from more of a film background, and now being on a TV show that has more than one season, it's really interesting to see like the fan theories. Like I've never had that before. I don't really read them, but we get a bunch sent into like we have this group chat, and all the girls send some of them. And so that's been like really flattering and really interesting to see how devoted and committed they are to the show, and how they pick up things that I haven't even picked up on, and their level of commitment is just beyond. So that's been really fun to have this like fan base that's like rooting for the show and that's excited for season 2. And it kind of like gives you even more purpose as an actor. You like kind of want to answer the questions and you want to make them happy. And it's been quite an interesting relationship.
Yeah, and you're going to be a big Halloween costume / cosplay this year. I'm going to Comic-Con, and I guarantee I'll be seeing a lot of Yellowjackets.
That would be crazy. I mean, just people buying like some Yellowjackets merch and like the buzz 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 anthem. Like it's really fun.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's when I first heard about this show, I saw the trailer and I said that looks really good. And then as it kicked in, everybody was, are you watching it yet? Are you watching it yet? And like, it's great to just be there at the beginning of something that's that has so many people interested, and it has so much love.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to your character, what was it about Shauna that interested you?
I think it was the complexity of Shauna and kind of how she's like a slow burn. I think she's quite underestimated as a character at first. Like she's the introvert, she doesn't speak that much. She kind of sits into the role of the observer and have accepted that she's Jackie's sort of sidekick. And I think it's been just so interesting to just like slightly see her coming into her own as the first season unfolds, and to see her find her voice. And I think, I just loved how even from the first episode that I read, because I just read the pilot at first, there, there was like these little scenes or little bits of dialogue that I was like, oh, there's more to her than this like shy character. And so yeah, it was like the complexity of it all, and how she has this sort of inner strength that's kind of like sitting inside of her that's not been used fully yet, and that I'm so excited to see unfold in season 2. And just a lot of things that I could relate about with Shauna, her like her willpower and her competitiveness, but also her very dry and like witty sense of humor. And I just I loved her. I loved how you loved her, even though she's not always at her best or doesn't always show her best sides. You still really care for this character, for all the characters, actually.
So as she learned about herself and found this, she is a very complex character, and she finds out a lot about herself once they are stranded. Did you find out anything about yourself during the production of this series?
I mean, it confirmed a lot of things for me, that I still don't like being dirty. I like kind of didn't think of like reading the pilot, we're in the city, like it's fun. And then as we went for like the full show and I was reading the scripts and I was like, oh yeah, we're really always stranded in this island, aren't we? Like this is gonna get dirtier and dirtier and smellier. It confirmed that I'm still scared of spiders and that I would never want to be stranded in a forest. It also surprised me that like I was quite scared coming into this, as we're just like a really big group of girls, and I have a tendency to like, I don't know, stray away from like big groups of girls, and it can get kind of like, catfighty and all the stereotypes we have about girls. And there were some fights, because I think every human being has its bad days and we fight it sometimes, but I was really surprised at how well it went and how we all like genuinely loved each other so much. And I know that every show says this, but we were truly like a family. And I think it has to do also with, and the time that we did it was like quarantine back then in Vancouver, and we were kind of like stuck together, but it really bonded us and we got so close right off the bat. And just like, these girls are truly like my family, and we still hang out and we still text like daily. And just to see how like supportive we all were of each other. Like this industry can get quite competitive, and all the kind of all girls, and we all want, I guess, the bit of the spotlight when you have a scene. But on the contrary, like when we weren't in a scene, we were just so supportive of one each other, and we kept like cheering on and being like, you look so gorgeous, you were so good, you killed the scene. If we knew we had like some big emotional scenes, we'd go up to each other and say like, hey, I know you have a big one today, like do you want to like rehearse it more, can I help you with anything? Just like, we were genuinely very proud of each other and very close, and it was really refreshing to see such a close group of girls.
And that's going to help you get through the spiders and all the dirt too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. We definitely were all in this together. Like we all had the same big night shoots. All of our scenes are together all the time. So if there was a bad day on set, we were all going through this bad day on set. We were all as tired all the time. So it felt like at least I wasn't alone in this. Like if I felt dirty, we all felt very dirty and kind of like annoyed and gross.
It's great to see roles for women that don't fit into the standard mold. Are you seeing more interesting opportunities out there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with this one, first of all, and like I mentioned earlier, like they're not so stereotypical anymore, but also like we're embracing all the aspects of being a woman, like the uglier parts and the more difficult parts, and subjects that are more taboo, like abortion and losing virginity and subjects like that. And I think it feels so good because we can finally look at roles that we can relate to and that we feel connected to, and that resonate with like not only a younger audience, but just with like how unique everyone is. And I think that's such a strength of the show, is not only it shows different sides of women and like the uglier parts, but also just like a variety of women and how strong we are, and how together we're just like literally undefeatable. And I do think I'm seeing more and more roles out there for women that are more interesting and more relatable, and that people are more grounded and real.
So how much of the story is still a mystery to you? Like, so on day one, you said you read the pilot, and then how much did you know going forward up until, up to the close of this season?
Barely anything, honestly. Like it was every month or every 2 weeks was like a shocker when we got the new episodes. I did not know much. There was like coming out to the pilot, there was theories of potentially Shauna would be pregnant, but even that wasn't confirmed. We got like the episodes for every the scripts for every episode like almost 3 days before we started shooting the following episode. So we were always kind of just like waiting, and then we'd get it, and we'd be middle of shooting a scene one day, and then we'd get it, and we would all like read and scheme through it on our phones. So we did not know much. We still don't know anything. Like people keep asking me and they're like, give me spoilers for season 2. And I'm like, I have literally no idea what's like. I'm following this show as the fans are watching it. And so yeah, we don't get told much. I don't know if Shauna's gonna keep the baby, if she's gonna eat the baby, if she's gonna lose the baby.
A lot of options.
But lots of, and it could go like so many different ways. Like the way that the first season panned out wasn't how I had imagined it at all. I thought there'd be more people killed. I thought, I don't know, there's a lot of like supernatural elements that got incorporated in it, which I didn't think it would take a turn for that at all. And it did. And I'm so happy that people are loving it because it's kind of like a hit or miss. And so, yeah, and I think now that I think we kind of like tested the waters with adding those supernatural elements. And now that people are liking it, I think the writers just want to like amplify it. So I'm very excited to see how it's going to turn out.
And how much of the adult version, Melanie's version of Shauna, do you know as you're preparing for your role? And does that influence how you play her?
I mean, again, not much because we both get the episodes at the same time, and she was asking also a lot about it. I think it's more important for her to know what happened to her younger. Like for me, it's not as hard because if I'm like fully immersed in my character, like I don't know what's going to happen to me tomorrow. I don't, like, every day is a surprise technically. I don't know how I'm going to pan out in 30 years. So for me, I don't mind not knowing because it's like my character doesn't know. So it makes sense. I mean, obviously it has to fit with older Shauna, and Melanie and I sat down for discussions and like just to make sure we had this, vision for the character and saw her in the same light and wanted to represent her on the screen in the same way. But other than that, like I didn't see her act on set at all because we were never together at the same time, which is quite interesting because now when I watch the show, it's like I'm watching this whole other show that I haven't really seen. And also it's been cool to watch just like tiny details that Melanie does when she acts, like biting her lips and like the awkwardness of her body and the dry sense of humor that I wish and that I hope is going to be exploited a bit more in younger Shauna, and just elements like that I'm going to try to incorporate in season 2.
You kind of touched upon it, but what was your reaction when you saw it all come together? So you had scripts and you had shoots, but then there's the music and there's the, everybody, these performances that you didn't get to see because you were only shooting with the team out in the wilderness. So what's it like when you see it all come together?
I mean, as an actor, I think it's always hard watching your work. Like, even if I'm not in, a big amount of the elements of the show, like it's still hard for me to watch it. I read the scripts and the way it's like cut together, this transition, like I remember we were watching it, me and the other girls together, and there's just like some transition that we're like, oh, this feels weird. There were parts where we thought it wouldn't be this sort of music, and then they added like a really hardcore soundtrack. And I think we always have to watch it a couple times for us to like truly be able to enjoy it. I love the soundtrack. Every episode, I think it was so strong and so powerful, and I think the acting was just always so spot on. And I was quite surprised at how the casting, like the way we really, like with the costumes, like seeing it all together and seeing like the raspiness of Natalie's character, how it fits the younger and the older, and seeing the like really the craziness of Misty's character. Like I just thought those key elements were so spot on. And even I was quite skeptical about the match with Melanie and I at first, because as you can see, I'm blonde with blue eyes, and I was like, no one's ever gonna buy this. And when I saw it on screen, I was like, it really it works. Like I buy it, and I thought that's what shocked me the most. Like the resemblance between the older and the younger cast is really uncanny.
Yeah, it you bring that up. My wife and I, we both thought you had to be related. So, I don't know if it's the mannerisms or you definitely, you see you side by side like on Google, and you definitely look different, but there's it connects and it works so well. Are you into shows like Yellowjackets and?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always been quite a fan for dramatic stories and even horror. Like whenever a horror movie comes out, even though they're not good, I'm always the first one to run to the theater and go watch it, even though they terrify me. Like that's the biggest thing. I am genuinely so scared of sleeping on my own and living in my own apartment. I call my mom quite often. I called my mom a couple of nights on Yellowjackets after a long day of shooting from like night shoots, and I was alone in my hotel room, and I was like, this day was quite scary, and now I feel really scared. So yeah, I'm a big fan of everything that's horror, which is not so good for my mental health when I'm on my own. But no, I think it's cool. And I think what I love about Yellowjackets, it's like it feels very unique, and it is not only, it taps into horror, but I also find it taps into so many different genres, like romance, and there's some dark comedy in there.
Comedy.
And it's like the horror, but also the suspense, and it's a psychological thriller. So there's just like so many elements. So it's not just horror and gory. And that's why I think the show is just so strong.
Shauna's friendship with Jackie is very layered and unpredictable from where it starts to where it ends up, and ultimately kind of quite heartbreaking. Can you talk about what it was like seeing that play out?
It was really interesting. It was sort of sad for Ella and I, because we were so close, and at the end when her character dies, it kind of felt like I knew that Ella was most likely not going to come back, and it was kind of like losing my best friend in real life. It was very heartbreaking. I love their relationship so much, because I think it's such it's a scenario that like happens, I think, in most of people's lives, like just falling out of love with your best friend for no like real reason. Like it's just, you just go different ways, like you just become different people, and it's so hard, because when you've been best friends with someone for so long, they're kind of like your sister or your brother or whatnot, and it's like this weird relationship when you're like drifting apart, but like they're your other half, and it's quite complex. And I just loved how it evolved, and the complexity again of it all. And I think it's just so true, and it's usually the way it works, and the like lack of communication. Like it's such a hard subject to like, it's so hard to come up to someone and be like, listen, I think we have to face the facts that we're not like there anymore. And it's not because I don't love you, it's just like something's just not working. And so you usually go into like cheating, into like self-sabotage, and all of these things to kind of like end the relationship without having to do it. And I think that's kind of like what happens with, her sleeping with Jeff, and well, then she sadly falls pregnant. Like that doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just think it's quite beautiful, and I'm very interesting to see the repercussions of it afterwards, like the guilt that Shauna will carry, and the remorse, and just like the true heartbreak, because even though it was coming to an end, she still loved her a lot, and obviously didn't want it to end it that way. So I think it'll unleash a lot of things in Shauna for sure.
Yeah, you just confirmed something that I was hoping wasn't the truth or the reality. I was hoping there was another scene, like the post-credit scene, and we'd see her come back. And
I mean, listen, I don't know. Like I told you, I don't know anything. They might. We definitely all love Ella so much, and we are all praying that, like, if she doesn't suddenly come back to life, that she can haunt us in her dreams and be in some episodes at least.
I hope so. I think you two are great together on the show, and my fingers are crossed.
We were quite like our characters, actually. It was very interesting because Ella, everyone on set kind of told us that like we are quite like our relationship was kind of the same in the good ways, though. Not like Ella never bullied me or anything, but like she's quite outgoing and has this like she easily approaches people, and she's just, you know, someone that you, it is like a magnet you feel attracted to. And I'm always like more shy, and Ella kind of has to like drag me out of my shell when we're in public. So yeah, we were very similar. Our relationship was very quite like our characters.
When you watched Melanie playing the older version of you, do you ever stop and think like, oh no, don't, Shauna, don't do that? Or when you're reading the script, you're like, oh, what have I become? You know, it's like, what's it like seeing your character go down this darker path?
I actually like it. I think it's like refreshing to see her go like a little crazy. We wouldn't want her to, I mean, what has happened to her when she was young is so traumatic. I think it just wouldn't make sense for her to be okay with everything. And I think I love how, you know, you see that like some of her habits of like, for example, putting people's needs in front of her own and like caring so much for other people is still like, there's a lot of issues that haven't been solved, and she still is going through that. And so I think it's yeah, quite interesting and to see that to this day she's still trying to find her voice. She's still trying to fight for herself. Um I love her dry sense of humor, and the whole like killing the rabbit and all of those. And I truly love those scenes. And again, you love the ugly parts of her, and you love that she is, you know, you still see how remorseful she is and how she still feels so guilty of what's happened. And so you really care for her. So I don't think there's ever like, even if you feel that she's going down the wrong path, like when she starts cheating on Jeff again, you're like, Shauna, come on. You still like care for her. You're like, you're kind of rooting for her, but you're not. And I think that's why she's such a strong character.
Well, so I was just going to use that term, strength. She finds a strength in her that isn't there, that you can see going in the flashbacks, that wasn't there or was there, but it was kind of hidden under layers, and it starts to come out and really starts to shine, especially as you go into her, you know, into the future or the present day. I know you can't discuss what's going to happen, but do you have any
I don't
theories?
know what's going to happen.
Do you have any theories of what are going to happen? What's going to happen?
Oh, I feel like the group is going to split between two, like the more grounded, realistic people that are like, this is crazy, and then the people that are like more into this whole like culty seance-y thingy. I feel like there's going to be a lot of drama. Like I think the stakes are going to get so much higher, like more deaths, more injuries. I mean, it's going to be, it's winter time now, so it's getting more and more serious. So that's going to be a very interesting element to add in. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Shauna's baby. I mean, in my mind, not if she's not fed properly and doesn't have like water and such, like there's no way that she'd be able to grow this living inside of her. Like she wouldn't be able to have it. Is she going to have it and they're going to eat it? That would be absolutely atrocious and disgusting. But listen, there are strength, like what can you do? Although it's not a lot of meat, like it won't. That's so sad to say. Anyway, so
What a conversation on Mother's Day.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so I feel like she might lose the baby. And yeah, definitely I think the group is going to split and divide, and there's going to be a lot of conflict.
I just want to close out with a very quick question. Can you give me 3 words to describe Shauna?
Complex. Observative, and all right, that's a good one. I mean, I'd say strong. I think she's quite strong. I mean, it's all words that I've mentioned previously, but I use them because they're so true. So yeah.
There's a reason. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm looking forward to season 2. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future with your career. It's great to see you, on such an amazing show, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching it, and hope to speak
Yeah.
to you in season 2.
Thank you so much for making it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.